Pokemon Dev Chapter 8 Ayano's Gaming Experience. Even though she had realized this, Ayano knew there was no turning back. She'd already bought the game and made promises to her viewers, there was no way out now. She let out a quiet sigh and refocused on the game before her. Is it the classic WASD movement controls? Ayano tested the key bindings and controlled her character to step out of the truck. The scene that appeared before her made her eyes widen slightly. She'd played plenty of pixel games before, but the graphics in this one were truly exquisite, you could honestly call them a work of art. The chat filled with amazed comments at that moment. The pixel art style is actually this good. Are you sure this is made by an indie developer? This looks better than most games in my library. No wonder this game costs so much. But if it's just pretty graphics, that doesn't mean much, right? After all, what matters most in a game is whether it's fun to play. Following the game's tutorial, Ayano quickly completed the opening storyline, choosing a Pokemon from the grass above town to help Professor Birch defeat a Poochyena. After brief consideration, she chose Torchic. When she returned to the lab with Professor Birch, he offered to give her the starter Pokemon. Then, a notification popped up on Ayano's screen. Notice, Smart Interaction feature unlocked. Players can press E to use voice commands or text input to interact. Any character or Pokemon in the game can be interacted with. Seeing this notification, Ayano raised an eyebrow slightly. Oh, they're actually going for it? But honestly, that seems pretty unlikely. With a, might as well try it and see, attitude, she pressed E while facing Professor Birch and spoke into her microphone. Hello, Professor Birch, I'd like to have an electric-type Pokemon as my starter. Would that be possible? Ayano didn't really expect this request to work out. Obviously, the Pokemon selection in this game was already predetermined, otherwise, why would they have just presented her with 3 starter options to choose from? However, what happened next caught her completely off guard. Professor Birch actually nodded and responded. Oh, you like electric-type Pokemon? You should have said so earlier. I actually have a special Pokemon here. But if you want to receive her, you'll need to tell me why you like electric-type Pokemon. Ayano froze completely. Huh, there's actually AI. She thought it over and shook her head slightly. No, it must have triggered some keyword, right? Maybe the developer set, electric-type Pokemon, as a trigger phrase, causing Professor Birch to activate this dialogue. But even so, being able to pull off something like this meant the game's creator really put their heart into it. From what she could see so far, this game was performing way better than she'd expected. Meanwhile, the chat shared similar thoughts to Ayano's. These are probably pre-programmed responses, right? If you prepare enough answers, it's basically AI light, haha. +1. But still, this isn't true AI coverage, this is false advertising. You could totally sue them for this. At the same time, facing the question Professor Birch had just asked in the game, Ayano's expression suddenly became serious. Even though this was a virtual game, her love for electric-type Pokemon was real. She pressed E and answered word by word. Because I think electric-type Pokemon are full of enthusiasm, with lightning-fast speed and power. Being with them gives me endless energy. However, Professor Birch's next response came with the sound of applause. Excellent, I never expected you to have such passion for electric-type Pokemon. Actually, I feel the same way about electric types. And just between you and me, my favorite Pokemon is Pikachu. I think their lightning bolt-shaped tails are just too adorable to resist. At that moment, hearing the voice from the game, Ayano suddenly realized something. Wait a minute. If these responses were also pre-programmed by the developer, then they'd have to be incredibly thorough. Plus, for some reason, during this conversation, she didn't feel like she was talking to a fake game NPC at all, it felt more like she was speaking with a real Pokemon professor. Could it be that these NPCs actually have autonomous consciousness? Her mind raced as she thought this through. The best way to verify this would be to ask a completely random question that had nothing to do with the game itself. A question the developer would never think to prepare for, and that ordinary pre-programmed answers couldn't handle. Having made up her mind, she immediately pressed E. Professor Birch, changing topics completely, do you think miso soup or curry rice tastes better? Could you tell me your reasoning? As soon as she said this, Professor Birch's expression in the game seemed to pause for a moment, followed by a somewhat puzzled voice. Huh, why would you suddenly ask something like that? Quote ... But if I had to answer, I'd say curry tastes better. And potatoes and carrots are essential ingredients. Also, I don't like adding chicken, I prefer beef. That's what makes the most fragrant curry. This response made Ayano's eyes widen in shock. It's actually real. The NPCs in this game really have achieved AI coverage. There's no way they could answer her question like that otherwise. But how is this even possible? How could a pixel game that's only a few hundred megabytes pull off something like this? At the same time, viewers were starting to realize something was off, too. Holy crap, wait, this actually seems like real AI. Yeah, if these were preset answers and keywords, there's no way they could be this detailed. Damn, they're actually for real. Where's that person who said they'd sue for false advertising? Come out here. While Ayano and the livestream viewers were all amazed, Professor Birch's voice in the game drew everyone's attention back. Alright, getting back to the point, since you want an electric-type Pokemon, I just thought about it, and there actually is a suitable starter in the lab. He moved to a machine and operated it briefly. A Pokeball marked with lightning was immediately transported over. Take a look at this little guy, do you like what you see? Professor Birch opened the Pokeball, and in a flash of white light, a Pokemon covered in pale white wool like a sheep appeared before him. Though it was pixelated, it still looked incredibly lifelike and adorable. This was a Mareep, an electric-type Pokemon. Despite its cute appearance, all the wool on its body could store electricity, which it could discharge all at once when necessary. The moment Ayano saw Mareep, her eyes lit up. This was a Pokemon she'd never trained or encountered before. I'll take him, thank you, Professor. After leaving the lab with her starter Pokemon, Ayano tried talking to several NPCs around town, which completely confirmed her earlier conclusion, this game had indeed achieved full AI coverage. Even including the Pokemon. When Ayano typed the command, pet the wool on Mareep's head, her character in the game actually crouched down and began petting Mareep. Mareep closed its eyes and made happy sounds, enjoying Ayano's petting. It even ran over to nuzzle her ankles, with heart symbols appearing above its head. The chat exploded again at this scene. Holy shit, this actually works. With this kind of interaction, what's the difference from reality? Didn't Dream Factory make a Pokemon interaction game before? I feel like this Emerald game's Pokemon interactions are even better than that one. Are we sure this is a pixel indie game? This level of freedom is insane. Having plenty of gaming experience, Ayano naturally understood what this kind of game performance meant. She'd already made her judgment. This definitely wasn't an indie game from a small studio, but a game secretly created by a major gaming company on the scale of Dream Factory. Although she didn't know why they were being so secretive about it, she had to admit she was getting more and more excited about this game's content. Next, she spent a full 2 minutes at home petting the sheep, then left Little Root Town to begin her journey. Unlike Cynthia's previous playthrough, this time she didn't battle her rival at the top of the upper route. Instead, she simply went to find him and brought him back to get their Pokédexes from the professor together. By the way, Ayano named her rival, Banana King. Viewers in the livestream who had watched Cynthia's previous stream immediately sent questioning comments when they saw this. What's going on? I was waiting for this rival to show the streamer what real cruelty looks like, but suddenly they're not fighting. Exactly. Did they secretly patch this in an update? Damn, I was waiting for this. These viewers naturally looked forward to seeing the streamer struggle when hitting difficult parts. But they've been eagerly waiting for Ayano to face the rival again, and now, Banana King wasn't even fighting her. Having received the Pokédex and running shoes from the professor, Ayano opened her map and headed toward the next city, wearing a somewhat disappointed expression. Even though this game has turn-based combat, I think it's pretty interesting. I wonder when I'll get to battle a trainer. But just as she finished speaking, a gray-brown mist suddenly exploded from the grass around the corner ahead, completely obscuring the entire screen. 3 silhouettes gradually emerged from the mist. Huh, is this some kind of Easter egg? Ayano was curious for a moment. The next moment, uplifting and dynamic orchestral music suddenly rang in her ears. This was followed by a male voice. I think I just heard someone asking a question, didn't I? From the mist, a blue-haired man in uniform stepped forward, revealing himself with a rose in his mouth. Since you ask so sincerely. Following him, a red-haired woman strode forward, flipping her long hair with incredible flair. We'll be generous enough to answer you. Against a brilliant galactic background, the two figures danced alternately.